as you've read it out, that's as much as you find out from the curriculum about what an eco-identity is. We can only speculate that it's based on a sort of pantheistic idea that superior is nature to human beings. Nature is good and human beings are evil. It's this idea that, you know, we're a blot on the planet. And if you want to be a good person, you have to be closer to nature.
Yes, I know. I mean, this is indoctrination, isn't it? And kids then start to feel guilty. I mean, in the Prep to Year 6 curriculum, under 12s are told to think about themselves in terms of how they relate to the environment, as well as through, here we go, the lens of First Nation Australians. I mean, this makes kids feel as though they are really second-class citizens.
Look, they really do, and they start at a very young age. You know, they're starting with four-year-olds.
Yes.
Four-year-olds
I'd say the Perron, get them while they're young.
Get them while they're young, and they really do. And they indoctrinate them from year 4 all the way up to year 10. And the idea that it's better to be an Aboriginal Australian than it is any other Australian is clearly there for everyone to see in this document. And it is indoctrination, as you say, and it's also very divisive.
Yes, I mean, once they've identified the places and the communities they live in, they'll be taught how to, quote, look at how places change and how they can be cared for by different groups, including First Nations Australians. I mean, do they miss out anywhere?
They miss out. They miss out everywhere. This is all they're hearing from day one, and it's. You know, it's not encouraging to take on any other identity. It's not saying your identity should be about community or individual or family.
No.
It's this eco-identity, which is very worrying, and parents should be asking their politicians why this curriculum has been approved.
And do teachers understand this, or do you think they'll teach this, or what's the story?
Well, knowing the political affiliations of many teachers,
yes.
I would hazard a guess. I'm being kind. I think that most teachers will probably want to teach this. There will be a few that don't. But because the curriculum is mandatory, you know, it's mandatory across every school.
All across Australia, all Australian kids. Does the curriculum require children to be taught that it's better to be an Indigenous Australian than any other type of Australian?
This is definitely something that comes.
But aren't we all Indigenous, having been born in this particular place? Aren't we?
We are all Indigenous. Of course, that's factual. But you know,
are they taught that?
Facts have no place in this national curriculum.
No. I mean, in year 4, the children will learn, quote, the effects of contact with other people on First Nations Australians and their countries and places following the arrival of the First Fleet, and how this was viewed by First Nations as an invasion. So, teach kids that Australia was invaded. They'll have a sense of guilt because they're told they're not Indigenous Australians, which of course they are not. Where the hell does this end up?
This ends up with generations of Australians who, perhaps, if Australia were to be invaded, might not feel that it's a country worth defending because they're taught that they're invaders. It's not good psychologically, and it's not good for future generations.
See, we're talking about this, but I suspect parents know nothing about this. And of course, if they did, they're impotent to do anything about it, aren't they?
They are, at the moment, yes, because this national curriculum, as I said previously, is mandatory. But they can go to their schools, and they can go to their teachers, and they can go to the principals and say, we don't want our children being taught this. And we know that the majority of Australians don't want their children being taught that they have to develop an eco-identity. That's not what mainstream Australians want.
But it's what you get when you hand your children over to the state, isn't it? I mean, this is a national curriculum affecting children across Australia. So in the middle of an election, the education elite make minor changes to pretend they're listening to parents, desperately hoping no one will notice. Bella, the reality is each draft version gets worse and worse. How do you take education out of the hands of left-wing ideologues and return it to the parents?
Well, we have to start, Alan, by just abolishing the national curriculum altogether. I know it seems extreme, but it's an extremely bad and an extremely radical curriculum, so it has to go. And in that way, you return the power and you return education back to the parents, and you put it in their hands.
Good on you. Great to talk to you, and you write splendidly. Bella wrote about this in today's Australian. Bella Dabrira. She and I and Mark Latham on education, I think, are a minority. I'll look at this in more detail tomorrow. Bella, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan.
Bella Dabrira.